Thank you. Yeah, nice to meet everyone. So yeah, just a quick introduction. Obviously, appreciate you all joining and taking your time out your day to listen to a few of us from DHL Express. So yeah, my name's Luke Renix. I'm the National Key Account Manager, and in short, I manage the relationship between DHL and the NEUPC. May have emailed some of you before, but obviously in terms of your general contact with DHL, that might have been through your local account manager or telesales agent, which will continue to be the same. So today I've got a few colleagues with me from Customs and our Special Services group, and I'll let them introduce themselves when we get to their part. But for now, all I'm going to do is just give you a very high level overview of DHL Express and how we can support universities. I know we already do support quite a lot of them, but how we can continue to support and build on the relationship we've already got. So DHL, I'm not going to go through all of these, but DHL, we are renowned as the most international company. So stating the obvious, we can help you with domestic export and import requirements. We operate in over 220 countries, and a few stats there. There's 116,000 of us within the DHL Express network. Today, you're lucky or unlucky enough to be talking to just 4 of us. But with that, we've got over 500 airports served globally. We've got over 295 dedicated aircraft. So we've got one of the largest fleets in the world in terms of aircraft. And we deliver 276 million shipments annually across our express network. So core services, as I've just said, yeah, we are renowned to be the quickest and best exporter and importer worldwide. So with that, we've got our Express Worldwide products available to over 220 countries. And then within Europe, on the right-hand side, you've got the slower Economy Select service, which is just a dedicated road network around Europe. Within the Express side, you can obviously then select to send shipments before 9 or before 12 on the delivery day for them more urgent, but do come with a surcharge. Domestically, I know a lot of you utilise our domestic network, so we offer a very robust domestic next day service. Again, you've got pre-9 and pre-12 options on there as well. Yeah, we've got 43 service centres across the UK, so cover all in UK, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, and all this is done on the same account number as what you can import and export on as well. So it's a very slick and easy service. Same collection, same yellow Sprinter vans that you see around collecting your domestic and your international parcels and freight. We've also got global mail, so a lot of people don't realise whilst we also mainly known for our express products, we've also got global mail. So we don't operate global mail domestically, hence the global name, but we can compete with Royal Mail. So if you do have any international mail requirements, we do have bespoke rates for that as well. So yeah, bear that in mind. If you're currently using Royal Mail or any other international mail operator, you can actually access our network via the agreement we've got and probably via your existing DHL account number. So I just thought I'd mention that as well. And finally, we know that there's a lot of laboratories, test centres around in the universities and education sector. So we've also got a Medical Express product within our network. So in short, these shipments are moved and prioritised a lot quicker. Again, come at a little bit more of a premium, but we can help you with them temperature controlled shipments within our network via the Medical Express product code. So again, reach out to us if there is that requirement. Again, more of a reminder if needs be. So why have I just run through that? In short, as part of being members with your local consortium, like I said, we have an overall agreement which gets you access to bespoke rates, surcharges, and framework agreements that a standard customer doesn't have access to. I think at the minute we're aware of the economic climate around the world, and I'll give you one main example of how using DHL can benefit you via this agreement at the minute is you've got a fixed fuel surcharge of 15% for express and 10% of domestic. So just to put that into perspective, if you're a standard customer now sending a shipment with DHL Express, our fuel surcharge for April is near 40% for TDI. So on that alone, for me, that's the biggest benefit right now of where we're at in terms of the discounts that are available. No matter what your shipping profile is, whether it's one shipment a month or 100, you get access to the same level of benefits across the overall agreement. As I've just said there, yeah, also the agreement's still got a few years to run, so Standard customer will get a surcharge at the end of every year. At the minute, surcharge, a price increase at the end of every year. At the minute, there's no price increase while this agreement runs until 2028. We've got buyer's guides to explain everything I've just gone through, and also we can sign in once we've got the overall agreement in terms of the framework. We do call off contracts as well, which some of you may be aware of, so we can enter into a call off contract with yourselves directly if that's what you require, so we're quite flexible with that as well. So that's a whistle-stop tour of DHL and how we can support and the agreement we've got. I know the main topic of discussion today, again, with everything that's happening in the world, is customs. So what I'm delighted to do is hand over to my UK customs support team, Simon and Dan, who are going to run through some useful slides around updates, customs, and how we can make your life easier, hopefully. So yeah, Simon and Dan, over to you.
Cheers, Luke. Thanks for that. So just as a brief introduction for myself, my name's Simon Rowe. I've worked within the DHL Customs Department for the last 25 years now, I believe. So during that time, we've seen a lot of changes. Obviously, we've had Brexit over the last couple of years, which is still having effects on trade worldwide. And my main sort of purpose of role within the business is to support our sales team and also our customers with regards to regulatory trade requirements for UK imports and UK exports. So thank you for joining today.
Hi, my name's Daniel Johnson, very similar to Simon, work in a similar capacity, providing that support towards UK customs legislation and processes. So from a DHL perspective today, we're hopefully going to be able to offer you some support and guidance into the world of customs and what we're able to accommodate and support you through. I think an important notion just to sort of mention, there is going to be some customer specific information here. So I believe there's going to be a transcript and a copy of this presentation shared after today. And what we'll also do alongside that is provide you with some useful links and some customer facing material on some of the topics that we're going to bring to light, which you should find beneficial for future reference as well. So just bear that in mind as well as we go through the slides. There is quite generic information, but following this, we'll also put something into place so that you can have a reference point moving forward as well. Perfect. Over to you, Si.
So the process with regards to shipments being shipped on the DHL network, you might be aware that DHL, we're what's called an FPO within the trade industry, which stands for a fast parcel operator. So I guess we're a little different to what you might expect from a freight forwarder, whereby they have further additional requirements to abide with HMRC guidance. Whereas with an FPO, we have what we call simplifications, for example, that allow for low value exports and low value imports to be declared as bulk entry into the UK. And therefore, what it does, it negates the additional like customs HMRC requirements for a customs declaration in certain circumstances. The benefits, I think they're quite obvious with a fast parcel operator. We've got fast transit and clearance times. Now, fast clearance times are due to what we call our entry into declarant reference authorization that we hold with HMRC. That basically allows for shipments arriving into the UK as a UK import to be delivered to the customer's premises, and we submit that customs declaration at a later date. That, of course, keeps in line with our fast transit movement of fast parcel shipments. Standardized processes, and we have an end-to-end service. So this flowchart basically gives you an idea as to how the process works for a UK import. So at the booking stage, the image, the airway bill, the commercial invoice, that becomes available worldwide in what we call our clearance in the air system or the customs alert system. That allows for the clearance to begin prior to the shipment arriving into the UK. So pretty much we'll have that shipment either cleared or we'll have the relevant points of contact initiated with the customer who's importing those goods, completed prior to arrival or upon arrival into the UK. Now, the main sort of trigger for how we clear those goods through customs is obviously it's controlled by what we call the DHL airway bill, which is the shipment delivery notice, and the commercial or the pro forma invoice that accompanies that shipment. From that commercial invoice, we have to determine who that importer of record is for that particular shipment. That is determined from either the bill to or the importer of record that's declared on that invoice, which often is different to the ship to that's on the airway bill. And that is then concurred with our customer master file database. So the customer master file database, or the CMF, because we're like an acronym within DHL, The CMF basically drives how we clear that particular importer's goods through customs. And you'll see a screenshot of what we use. It's dated, yes, granted, but it works for what we need to clear those goods through customs. And that CMF drives how we clear that customer's goods through customs accurately as well, because we can hold all of the relevant detail for the particular customer. The shipment is processed. Any customer contact that is required, that is initiated automatically via email. We also have customer contact within the UK as well. And as I've touched on, the declaration is finalised to HMRC, typically at a later date to when the goods have been delivered for those goods that qualify under the simplification EIDR. So that's just a high-level overview as to how the process works. Obviously, we can go into a lot more detail with regards to that, but I hope this gives you some idea as to how we're working. Obviously, digitalisation as well, because the data that's inputted at origin, we can use that data to automatically process that customs declaration as well. So as well as the invoice and the airway being of great importance to ensure that declaration is raised, the data that's provided to DHL at the time of booking is of great importance as well. Thank you. We talk about BIRDS and the MOU. So BIRDS is the reduced data set requirements that have been in place since Brexit. So in effect, for a UK import, shipments where the value is above 135 GBP, VAT becomes due at the point of import. In addition as well, any relevant duty is calculated dependent on what the product is, based on what we call a commodity code that drives that duty rate. And of course, whether or not if there's any form of customs procedure that might negate the duty or it might negate the revenue, which is provided by the importer with regards to their specific clearance instructions. An individual customs declaration is raised for all shipments over 135 in value. And what DHL can do, as well as part of your audit requirements, we automatically provide a copy of that customs declaration within 24 hours of customs clearance being granted. So although your shipment might have been delivered 2 weeks prior to that entry being declared and cleared by HMRC, you may well have instances where that declaration is obviously being received a month or 3-4 weeks after delivery of those goods. But that is normal practice because of the simplifications we have in place with customs. The values below 135, there's no specific requirement to raise an import declaration. And the reason for this is because we have authorization to clear those what we would previously call low value shipments under the BIRDS bulk import reduced data set process. So in effect, there's no revenue that's applied on import for those particular shipments as VAT is collected at the point of sale. And it's cleared as a bulk declaration, so there won't be an individual customs declaration for a multitude of shipments. We'll have a bulk low value clearance declaration in such for multiple shipments, and therefore an individual shipment declaration is not available for those shipment types. And again, a high-level overview of the UK export process. So an individual export declaration will always be raised when there's what we call a controlled export. So what's a controlled export? A controlled export is basically goods that are controlled by an export license, for example. A customs procedure, so is it been imported for repair and it's being re-exported after repair? For those type of goods, we have to raise the export declaration again. So that will be the inward processing export declaration for those goods. Is it controlled by a carnet? So goods that are going out for an exhibition, there's a process where the shipper can apply for a carnet through their local Chamber of Commerce. That carnet acts as a passport, and that negates any revenue for those goods moving within different countries around the world for those exhibition goods. For those type of goods, we'll raise an export declaration. If the shipment value is over 10,000 GBP, we'll raise an export declaration. An individual declaration is completed. And again, the same as an import declaration, we'll provide a copy of that within 24 hours of customs clearance, as long as we hold the relevant email address within the customer master file database. Now, a supplementary declaration, these are for shipments between £900 to £10,000 in value, and these are raised post-shipment delivery. So therefore, pretty much similar to what we have for UK imports, we have a simplification that allows us to raise those type of declarations after the goods have been delivered or exported out of the UK. Similar to the bird's low value, exports has what's called an MOU simplification, Memorandum of Understanding. And again, it's the bulk export declaration. So in effect, this is always for non-controlled shipments below the value of £900. So shipments that are not controlled by an export license, a specific customs regime or control, those shipments will do a bulk export declaration. There's no physical individual declaration. For audit requirements, the exporter of the goods, they are required to hold a copy of the airway bill, the commercial or the pro forma invoice, and of course, proof of delivery. And that will suffice as a HMRC audit requirement for those particular shipments. And then we look at the perfect invoice. And as Dan touched on, you'll get a copy of this presentation post. I won't go into great detail with regards to this, but this is in effect of most importance to ensure that your goods are clearing customs right first time of asking. So we'd obviously require the exporter of the goods, the importer, the importer record, a clear description. Can't stress too much with regards to clear descriptions, because what we're seeing now is that shipments worldwide, they're being held by customs because, as an example, we're seeing customers declare merchandise as the description. That doesn't allow customs to identify what is in that box without physically opening that box. And what we're seeing with that is because repeat offenders as such are repeatedly declaring merchandise as their description, customs are also applying fine for those particular shippers, but it doesn't affect just the shipper, that affects DHL as well. So DHL locally at destination will possibly see a fine as well. So descriptions, the commodity codes, that drives the specific duty rate for your products that you're shipping. So it's important to ensure that the commodity code or HS code is declared on the paperwork, customs value, and of course the currency, because without a valid currency, without the correct value, then of course potentially you're going to see the incorrect amount of revenue that's applied to those particular shipments, because customs work on the cost, insurance, and the freight value to determine what the revenue is that will be applied to your shipment. And then the CMF, the customer master file, as I say, it looks very dated. It's very 1980s looking. Not that I'm that old, but it does work for the process of ensuring that goods are cleared through customs within the UK right first time. So as an example here, our CMF, it gives us the ability to hold the business name, the relevant business address, postcode, EORI number. So all importers, all exporters, businesses that are involved with importing and exporting should hold an EORI number. This allows customs to be able to track shipments with regards to who's importing goods and who's exporting goods. And also it allows for you to ensure that any VAT returns, etc., you can complete that against your EORI number, which typically it's the same as your VAT number, but you have to be EORI registered as a business. Point of contact, so we can hold phone numbers, we can hold email addresses with regards to who we should contact in the requirement that we need additional information. We can hold the email address as to who requires a copy of that import or export declaration. And of course, we can hold your deferment account as well. So if you're not familiar with a deferment account, that allows for any revenue that's due on a UK import to be billed to your deferment account number. Obvious benefits are that you don't get any additional administrative charges from DHL for using their deferment account. And then on the next screenshot, we will see an example as to how, I mean, this is quite brief, this one, but how we can hold specific clearance notes to clear a customer's goods through customs accordingly. So for this particular example, the customer has advised us that they have a VAT exemption certificate and that we are to contact them for a copy of that VAT exemption certificate for all UK imports. So this is just a brief example, but we can work those customer master file notes, those specific clearance notes to your particular preference to ensure that we are declaring your shipments to UK customs correctly. We have some customers that give us a list of commodity codes that we should apply to their specific shipments. We have other customers that ask us to only contact for shipments from a particular shipper. So we can work that to your liking. And then I'll hand over to Dan.
Thank you very much, Simon. Much appreciated. So similarly to sort of what Simon's touched upon, these are just some of the high-level summaries of the inward and outward processing customs procedures that we believe up until this point have been a bit of a hot topic for you guys and from a university perspective. So I won't go into War and Peace and detailing everything surrounding both of the customs procedures, but with you getting a copy of this presentation, we thought it'd be fairly prudent to make sure that you've got a clear high-level summary as to what these things entail and how that from an operational perspective we can manage these. Essentially what these two customs procedures stand for, both respectively inward and outward processing, is what you're saying in essence is that you're going to be either temporarily importing or exporting goods for either repair, alteration, adaptation, whatever that may be. Now there is such things called IP numbers and OP numbers, which are the subsequent numbers for outward processing and inward processing, which gives you authorization with HMRC to act in this capacity. Now, for any of you that have perhaps had a little bit of a read towards the top of these statements, there is simplified versions of these. So HMRC have recently extended it from 3 shipments per calendar 12 months, to 10 shipments per 12 months, where essentially you don't have to hold an official IP or OP number, and you can use a simplified version of this. Now, for you guys that are operating a bit of a higher volume capacity, you may wish to explore getting these authorizations directly with HMRC, which will allow you to operate in a higher sort of volume, depending on how many shipments you're importing and exporting of this nature. Now, towards the bottom of these statements as well, there'll be a breakdown on how realistically we would like to see the invoices manifested with the detail in scope, just so that at the point in which we're looking to finalize the customs entries, we've got the ability to complete them in the manner that you've requested. There's also some pre-alert instructions from an export perspective. So similarly to how Simon's mentioned, we do have that memorandum of understanding, which some of your shipments could fall under if it's not preempted towards the shipment's dispatch, that your goods qualify for these times of remits. So once you've obviously received this presentation, if you do have any further questions on the topic, how you can get this onboarded into and embedded into your customer master file, or how you can apply with HMRC, so on and so forth, we'd be more than happy to support and provide you with the direct links and the support in these capacities. But it's just something that we thought quite prudent to bring to your attention, because we know it's something quite common from a university perspective. Thank you. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So this references some of the useful customs contacts. So we noticed and identified that ahead of this presentation, you guys had been raising instances where perhaps a shipment has been imported or exported in a capacity that you didn't require, and you wondered whether this could be amended or adapted in any way. So on the left-hand side, you'll see a breakdown of the points of contact which can be utilized for amendment requests. So they are different for both imports and exports, and they will also be different compared to whether a DHL's deferment account or your own internal HMRC deferment account has been used. What we'll also look to do after this call as well is we'll share the customer facing material, which gives a full breakdown of the UK customs contacts within the DHL Express network. It'll give you a high level summary as to what each of these teams do. It'll give you a breakdown of their SLA, and it can be used from a customer facing perspective. So should you have any questions or concerns regarding your queries with DHL Express, this would be a good reference point for you to keep note of. So we'll make sure to share that after the call and when the presentation is sent, so that you've got a reference point of who to contact and when for your DHL Express customs queries within the UK. Thank you. So this is something that we've obviously noticed being a little bit more consistent over the course of the last couple of years. So there seems to be frequent regulatory changes ongoing within the world at the moment. I think more often than not, you'll have probably seen within the news recently about all of the changes that are ongoing within the US. So there's a lot of tariff changes and a lot of regulatory changes when it comes to the importation of certain goods into the US and exporting from there. So what DHL has been able to establish is there is an online link which you'll be able to see within this presentation, legislation and use as a reference point. So should you have any export lanes or import lanes from specific countries where you note that there is a regulatory change or update coming, you can utilize this link to get a bit of a better level of understanding of what's ongoing, what that's going to relate towards. And should you have any further questions, we do also have some customer facing material within an internal DHL Express customs toolkit. So this reference point will allow you to get a bit of a better understanding of how it applies to you, what potentially is in scope for your lanes, and then should you wish to have any further information on that topic, it won't specifically show it within these links, but we would suggest in those regards speaking to your DHL account manager or telesales executive, and what they'll be able to do is they'll be able to share the customer facing material on these regulatory updates. And as we say, we're very well aware that the world of customs seems to be forever changing. Nothing is ever set in stone in that sense. So we thought it very important to make sure that we've got a platform online where people can go and reference and stay up to date with whatever may be ongoing within the world. Next one, thank you. Okay, so this is an online portal or tool that we like to make sure that people are aware of. So it's called My GTS. So this can be used by people that do hold a DHL account or people that don't hold a DHL account. Now, the benefits of having a DHL account, similar to what Luke was saying at the beginning of this, is that the service would be more tailored to what your needs are and how your account is established. And essentially what My GTS is a pre-planning shipment tool that will allow you to determine estimated landed costs. So it'll give you a breakdown of how much it's going to cost to ship from A to B. But what it will also do is it'll also give you a high-level summary as to what the importation charges on the goods that you import as you progress throughout the tool would be. So say, for example, you were to ship something from the UK to the US, it will give you a breakdown of how much it would cost to ship an item of that size. But what it will also factor in is a breakdown of the estimated import charges of the goods that you import as you progress throughout the tool. The tool will also allow the ability to support you help classifying your goods. So if you're aware of what the shipment is, so say, for example, you've got some lab equipment to send, so you're aware and you can use this system to determine what the most appropriate tariff or HS code for those items are. And what I mean by tariff and HS codes is they are tariff codes or they're codes within the customs environment and the customs universe, which we use to determine what a specific item is, what a percentage of duty is, what the VAT potential aspects on that may be. So it helps from a customs perspective to us understand what that shipment relates towards. And also what that will allow you to do within the tool as well is once you've progressed through where you're sending it to and where you're sending it from, what the items are and that you've classified them within that remit. It'll also be able to give you a breakdown of what the import and export requirements are to ship those goods. So similarly to what Simon was saying earlier within the slide deck, that you may find with some of your items that they're licensable. So it will help you to determine whether you do or don't need a license. It'll also help you to understand what the importation requirements are within the countries that you select. So exporting from the UK, for example, you may only need X, Y, and Z, but on the importation leg into the US, for example, is you may find that you need additional information or detail being in place within your accompanying invoice for consideration by US customs, which UK customs wouldn't need. So it's a really, really useful tool for people that are getting to grips with new lanes, new service models, or new types of commodities that they're looking to ship internationally. So it's something that we're really pushing out towards our customer base because it allows people to be able to self-serve, and then should they have any further questions, they've obviously got those points of contact which I mentioned earlier that they can reference and reach out to if they've got any additional questions on the topic. Okay, thank you.
Cheers, both. Yeah, really good updates, and like Dan said, we'll be sending this out afterwards via Saida and Andy. So I know there's a lot to take in, but we didn't want to miss anything off, and we'll also provide some collateral and useful links that the guys have ran through. So appreciate that. So the last 10 minutes, so you've understood about the core products of DHL, how we can support from a customs perspective. So finally, I'll just hand over to my colleague Jake, who is going to talk you through our special services group. And again, another string to our bow of having an agreement with us. You also get access to some additional products and services. So Jake, over to you.
Thanks, Luke. Yeah, so like I said, my name's Jake. I'm the business development manager for our special services group. So essentially what we're here for is any of your requirements that fall outside of the standard day-to-day courier network, we've got a team dedicated to find another alternative for you. So you can never in the position where DHL has to say no. I would always say to sort of come to us before assuming that we can't do it. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit more about an overview of what we can offer, and then go into some specific services that we support with and how that might then correlate to supporting with the university. So if we can just go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so we've basically got a team of dedicated agents. There's 8 down at Heathrow who are contactable via email or via phone call. They're open 8 till 6, Monday to Friday, and then they're also open on a Saturday and Sunday, 8 till 2. If you do ever need to contact them outside of hours, then the booking would have had to been pre-made. So we can't do the collections on a Saturday and Sunday unless you've already pre-booked it during the week. But essentially, the services that we offer are all done via third parties. So an off-network solution, and we're basically there for anything that can't be put through the network in terms of whether or not it's oversized. So anything over 300 centimeters in length can't go through the network. So that's something that we could have a look at through various different means, or overweight. So anything over 1,000 kilos per piece can't again go through our normal network, but it could go through ourselves. And then the overall shipment weight would be 3,000 kilos at the network. But again, that's something that we can look at through one of our services. So I've listed just a variety of different services we offer here. So next flight out being exactly what it says on the tin. So we'd look for an air freight solution. And if time is of the essence, you'd obviously contact our special services team via email, make it really clear that, look, this particular shipment, we know that we can't put through the network. And then we'd go through to one of our trusted suppliers who we've been using for very many years to come up with a solution, get it collected as a dedicated vehicle, get it taken to the nearest airport, and get it taken via air freight to its destination. Onboard courier is literally one of our DHL Express employees hand collecting the shipment and taking it to its destination. So that could be domestically, it could be internationally. They would literally board a plane with your particular shipment and take it to its end destination. Typical movements of this nature would be something, a really important prototype, a really important document, something that you think is that valuable that you don't want to put it through the network. You want it being really secure and, like I say, a handheld service. So yeah, we've got that option as well. Dedicated vehicle, I'll go into a little bit more in a moment. And yeah, essentially heavyweight is what I've mentioned already. But I think maybe one of the key elements here is our dangerous goods procedure. So let's say, for example, you've got a shipment. You don't typically send dangerous goods, but on one particular day, you've got something that you need to send via DG. Obviously, you can send that through the network, but you have to have certain approvals in place. So if you haven't got certain approvals in place, we can support with either compliant or non-compliant shippers. So if you're a non-compliant DG and you're non-compliant with dangerous goods, then we can pack it for you. We can do the DGN note. We can either put it through our network on an approved account, and we obviously take the responsibility of making sure that all the compliance is sought after, or we can go put it through a third-party method as well. There might be shipments out there that can't, for whatever reason, be sent through the network because the level of DG doesn't fall in line with our regulations. So again, we can then look for alternative methods for that. An example of that might be we can only sort of carry certain wattage of batteries through the network, whereas through special services, we'll have means to carry it in any which way that we can, through, like I say, air freight or potential dedicated vehicle option as well. We'll just go on to the next slide. Cool. So the most typical solution that we offer to our customers would be our sprint line. So a dedicated vehicle, collecting it from and delivering it directly to its destination. So that could be within the UK or European. So a typical sprint line solution within the UK would be a same-day movement. So DHL Express, obviously a really quick service. We typically get it there for the next day. If for whatever reason you have a scenario where, look, you really need to get that particular shipment from A to B, it has to get there within a couple of hours, we will literally get a driver, we'll get it to its destination, and it'll go direct to its destination. We can collect and do deliveries out of hours as well, but it needs to be arranged within the hours that I've already mentioned, between 8 and 6, Monday to Friday. But if a collection ever needed to happen outside of hours, we can arrange that, as long as, like I say, we arrange it beforehand. There's also white glove delivery options as well. So whether or not that might be debris removal from the particular pallet that we're sending, whether or not that might be careful handling because it's really delicate shipment. Like I say, if there's any particular requirement that you have, please come to us, ask the question on the special services team, and 9 times out of 10 we can come up with a solution for you. We've also got temperature controlled options as well. So we've got many customers that we send via a temperature controlled vehicle. I know that you can obviously send through the Medical Express version through the network via dry ice, for example, but through the network you wouldn't have a temperature controlled option per se through a vehicle, but you do have through us. And like I already mentioned, we've also got dangerous goods options there as well. Just digging a little bit more into our air freight option. So it's a global coverage. Obviously I mentioned already the onboard courier. But we've also got economy options here as well. So let's say, for example, you've got a shipment, it needs to go over to the US. Our typical network transit time would be 2 to 3 days, but you want to sort of look at managing costs on this particular shipment. It's quite a heavy weight. So we could potentially look at like an economy air freight solution, which may end up taking 7 to 10 days, for example, as well as the next flight out option as well. So like I say, any sort of requirements that you may have, we have the same coverage as the network in terms of anywhere in the world, 220 countries worldwide. So please do reach out if you've got any sort of air freight requirements moving forward as well. Finally, how would this then obviously fit in with you guys? So key university logistics needs might be transport and sensitive lab equipment and research materials. So if it's, like I say, that delicate that you don't necessarily want to put it through a network, a dedicated vehicle option might be an option for you there. Temperature control or secure handling of biological examples and chemicals, for example, would fit really nicely into a white glove option. Movement of high value scientific instruments. So again, we do see a lot of movements like this. A dedicated vehicle option. The scientific instrument really needs that extra care and extra handling, and it doesn't want to go, down a conveyor belt and through a network. We can just take it from A to B for you in that respect as well. And like I say, time critical deliveries for experiments, conferences, and academic collaborations. That's what we're here for those same day movements also. And potentially even campus or inter-campus equipment relocation. So it might even be a full truckload, an Arctic, for example, that you need to hire out going from A to B. Again, we can support with those requirements as well. I'll send you over a breakdown after this presentation of all the options that we can cover. I'll also send you over the email address that I mentioned. In terms of booking shipments in, it's literally just an email template form. So we're a little bit older school compared to the network. So instead of using a portal, you literally answer a list of questions on bullet points, say, collection address, delivery address, whether or not there's loading or unloading facilities, whether or not there's insurance required, for example. You'd send it over to the team, and then they'd obviously reply to say, we're working on this for you. There are different SLAs depending on the service that you're after. If time is of the essence, we obviously will reach out to our supplier, make sure that that is made aware, and we'll get back to you within a couple of hours. If it's more of a slower service and you're looking to sort of manage that cost expectation, then we'll hunt around for the best possible price with our third-party couriers as well. So that might be up to 24 to 48 hours. But again, I'll break that down on the email that I send out to you afterwards. Thank you.
Cheers, Jake. So yeah, just within time. So I appreciate you all listening. I know we've gone through quite a lot of information, but we really did want to stress the kind of benefits for you guys to have a relationship with us and where we can really add value to your university, department, post room, wherever you may be working within your individual university. As promised at the start, so I oversee the overall relationship, but I've put my contact details on this presentation that will be sent out. If you do want to know more about our core products, whether you have questions relating to customs, whether you've got queries for Jake, please put them through me and I'll get your local telesales agent or account manager to get in touch to really dive deep into how we can support. And obviously then you've got Saida's contacts from an NEUPC point of view. But from DHL, I haven't seen the chat, so I think we have got a couple of minutes. If there is any questions in the chat between us, we'll try our best to answer now, but if not, we're happy to take away. But for now, I'll hand back over to Saida. But yeah, thank you again. I'm hoping you can still hear me, Saida, Andy. Can you still hear me? Yeah.
Still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I just think we can hear Saida. I think she's trying to talk.
Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, there's just a bit of echo between you both.
Yeah.
Speakers up.
Can you hear us all right?
Can hear you now. There's still just a bad echo in the room.
Is it okay now?
A little bit better. So what we'll do, yeah, there's a bad echo, Andy. We will collate any questions in the chat when we come off from a DHL perspective. We'll send the collateral out as promised.
Is it all right now?
That's better. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you to DHL for that presentation. We have got a couple of chats. Got a couple of questions in the chat, if that's okay. I'll read them out, and if we can answer as much as we can, and if we can't, we can come back. Okay, the first one, could you please advise how I can have the contact details updated? There are currently 2 university email addresses being copied into the customs clearance request who aren't able to assist. I previously requested the contact information be updated, but it doesn't seem to have been actioned.
Okay, I think that's a fairly custom generic question there. So within that UK Customs contact sheet that we'll look to share, there is a import and an export point of contact that can be utilised for those CMF updates that Simon showed through and mentioned. So should you have any questions on that following the submission of the UK Customs contact sheet, then please do let us know. But there will be respective contacts on there where you can request for such changes to be made.
Okay, next one. Can you provide details on why you can use our POA account without us having given you permission to use it? Can you also provide details on how I can get copies of an import documents and invoices?
Yeah, the second part of the question, very similar to sort of the last answer. There will be a point of contact for both the import and export entries where you can request these from. There is separate points of contact respectfully for each of those import and export entries. So again, if you've got any questions or concerns on the back of those UK Customs contact sheets that are being sent out, then please do let us know. In regards to the first part of the question, I'm not entirely sure I fully understand the question. When you say POA account, could you please elaborate on that, Libby?
The payment on account, the deferment account.
Oh, the deferment account. Okay, so you do have the ability to provide us with authority to permanently use that. So there's two different options. We can either contact you upon case-by-case scenario for your authority to use your deferment account, or should you wish, you can grant us with permanent authority to utilize that. And again, that can be updated within the respective customer master file that we showed through earlier. So should you wish to request that change so that it's not done on a case-by-case basis and you wish to grant us that permanently, again, we can put you into contact with the respective customer master file team to make those changes to you.
I think it might be Libby, again, probably a follow-up. If you want to just provide your specific address, DHL account, etc., happy to run it through me. We'll check what is currently on your customs master file for that. If you're saying it's it might have a blanket instruction on there as an example saying we can use it, and if that's not the case, then yeah, you just let us know.
Yeah, it should have come from me if you've got a blanket authority, and I know I've never provided it. So there's a couple of importers that have used it, and then trying to get documentation when I don't know university's done where input's gone and stuff is really difficult. So then I can't like deal with that appropriately on my tax returns either. So it is really difficult. But I'll put my email address in chat, and happy for it to be followed up afterwards and stuff. So
yeah, if you want to, when the deck comes out, if you want to just send me a very quick email so I've got all your university details, then I can get your account manager to follow up on things like this with you, and yeah, make sure we've got all the right information on file, if that's okay.
So yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We've got one from Andrea. Could I ask a question, please, on the mic regarding further information?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the tax specialist at BUFDG, and so the members I deal with tend to be in finance and in the customs team. So there's a lot of the customs specialists sort of bridge procurement and finance. Where I think there seems to be a lot of confusion is how to actually get things like OPR and IPR authorization for, or notify DHL or the other FPOs of how that they want a shipment to be going through the OPR IPR route. And I wondered if we could, if it would be possible for you to pull together some sort of dummy screenshots that we could share with procurement colleagues. So to sort of say, you know, this is going to go, this is going out for outward processing. These are the boxes you need to be ticking when you actually book the shipment with DHL. Would that sort of information be possible?
Hi, Andrea. Yeah, we can absolutely do that, because what we do typically is we provide customers with the process for, you know, alerting us to those specific shipments that are controlled by OP or IP. So what I can do post call is send you the information. So what we need basically in a nutshell is a pre-alert from you guys when you ship an OP or an IP shipment to our export team. That allows them to raise the necessary export declaration and provide you with a copy of that declaration for your HMRC admin requirements. The reason we have to ask for that pre-alert is because we use those simplifications that we talked about. So it's highlighting those particular controlled shipments to our export team. But certainly, I'll drop you an email post call with regards to the details for that.
Yeah, so what might be good would be to actually have the steps actually. So, you know, one, you need to do a pre-alert and how you do that and things like that. And the other areas that we get asked about a lot are temporary admissions. So, for example, there might be borrowing equipment from overseas universities and how to get those in without through the correct procedure. Return goods relief as well is another one. And then the final issue that creates most of the problems, I think, is getting import relief and VAT and potentially duty relief on medical imports. So stuff that they can get VAT relief on.
Sure. Okay. What I'll do,
I mean, we could correspond more if that's okay, because anything you could provide to just grease the wheels, as you were, and make it a lot smoother would be really welcome.
Yeah, for sure. It might be worthwhile jumping onto a call at some point as well.
That'd be great, Simon.
So if you could provide your email details in the chat, I'll reach out to you at a later date if that's okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Then thank you.
if there's any other questions in the chat, we can follow those up and get back to you in the next day or so. As mentioned, the recording and slides will be shared after the session, along with the feedback survey. So if you can take a couple of minutes to complete that, much appreciated. But yeah, thank you very much to DHL for that. It was very good, very informative. Thank you.
Thanks for organising. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you,
Thank you all.
everyone, and enjoy
Thanks
the rest
all.
of your day.
Thanks
all.
everyone.
Bye.